Hey everybody, this is David with IsoHorns, and today I got an email from a customer, and rather than just answer the email privately, I wanted to do it publicly to help other people who might have similar questions. He says, "Hey David, hope you're doing well, brother. Do you have a wideband 60-degree horn?" And the answer to that is no, we don't make a 60-degree horn. But we did. The 60-degree horn was part of our original lineup. We made CNC samples of that 60-degree horn. In fact, I've got one right here, a 60-degree asymmetrical high-gain horn antenna. And there was nothing wrong with this product. It was a great product. But we decided not to move forward with it because we felt like it would be a niche product. WISPs, for the most part, are trying to solve two problems. They're trying to provide high-quality coverage from the top of a tower, so 360-degree coverage, and our 90-degree horn allows them to do that. So they can get high gain. It's 16 to 18 dBi, depending on which frequency you're operating in. It provides even 90-degree coverage. It's good for frequency reuse. So you can do A-B channel planning, channel A, channel B, channel A, channel B. So you can use 4 radios and 2 channels to provide cost-effective, high-quality coverage. You can go long distances with that high gain. The other scenario is noisy environments and dense environments where you're trying to maximize the capacity of your tower. You're trying to, again, reuse frequency. You're trying to limit the number of stations per access point to have good airtime availability for your station so that you can provide those faster plans. You want stronger signal. You want to pick up less noise from the sector. And that's our 30-degree horn. So with its narrow beam width, it picks up less noise from the sector because it's focused in on a smaller sector. So if there's Wi-Fi routers and competitor antennas all over the place, by having a narrow beam width, you pick up less of that noise. And you focus the signal, that's higher gain. It's a higher gain antenna. It's 19 to 21, again, depending on which frequency you're operating in. And so you have more focused signal. You pick up less noise. Again, you have that clean beam width, so you can do your frequency reuse, but this time with 20 degree, if you flip it using our bracket, you can have a 20 degree sector, or you can have a 30 degree sector with its default configuration, and you go A, B again for frequency reuse. And you can do 12 on top of a tower, or you can do another overlay of 12 with narrower channels, and so you can go A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, and then C, D, C, D, C, D, C, D, C, D. And you can overlap, so you can potentially have 24 access points on a tower, providing service in a dense urban environment. And so those are the two scenarios, and the 60 degree it doesn't really fit into either of those. If you need the cost-effective coverage, you go with the 90-degree horn. If you have a dense urban environment, then you go with the 30-degree horn. And if you just need 60 degrees of coverage, then you can use two 30-degree horns and get the same effect. And in fact, better, because if you have a handful of clients in a 60-degree coverage pattern, you have a 30-degree here and a 30-degree here, and then you have fewer stations per access point, again, with the 30-degree horn. So while not ideal for a small number of stations in a perfect 60-degree sector, it still works. The 230 degrees is still going to work for that niche. We just didn't see that as a common enough scenario where the 60-degree horn would be anything but a niche product. And so we went with the two horns, the 90 and the 30, because those better fit the common problems that WISPs are trying to solve. So that's a long answer, but the short answer is no, we don't have the 60-degree horn. That's why. Unless you want this one. So maybe I'll send him this one. This is a perfectly good product. Just not to invest in the tooling required to mass produce it. So I have a situation that could call for a diplexer style 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz using a Rocket Prism 5. That's the Rocket Prism AC Gen 2. Might also try the Netbox 5AX if the SXT AX hits the market soon, and the Cambium 4600L. So he's talking about using either Ubiquiti or MikroTik 5 gigahertz, and then using 6 gigahertz with the Cambium 4600L. And between the MikroTik Netbox 5AX and the Ubiquiti Rocket Prism AC Gen 2, I recommend the Ubiquiti Rocket Prism AC Gen 2 because MikroTik hasn't fully developed their TDMA protocol for the Netbox, their new AX radios. So it's not suitable for WISPs because WISPs use high gain directional antennas. So if these are two stations and you're the access point, they can communicate with the access point, but they can't communicate with each other to negotiate their access. So they end up transmitting at the same time, and that causes a collision at the access point. And because of TCP, they're going to have to resend their data, and that's going to likely cause another collision because they still can't communicate with each other to negotiate their transmissions. So that's the hidden node problem, and that's why WISP radio vendors create TDMA protocols, and MikroTik created two TDMA protocols. They have NStream and NStream version 2, NV2, which were built for Wi-Fi 4, 802.11n, and Wi-Fi 5, 802.11ac, but they haven't been built yet for Wi-Fi 6, 802.11ax. And AX has new technologies like OFDMA that make the time division protocol more complicated. And so maybe or maybe not, MikroTik will release a time division protocol in the future, but Ubiquiti has a perfectly good time division protocol, very mature with their AirMax product line, which is what the Rocket Prism AC Gen 2 falls into. And so you really can't go wrong with Ubiquiti and 5 gigahertz. Even right now, even though it's late, this is a very mature product. There's a positive to it. The other feature that comes with Wi-Fi 6 besides OFDMA that WISPs are probably interested in is the higher modulation rates that come with 1024 or 1K QAM. So you can get faster speeds with 1024 QAM rather than the 256 QAM of Wi-Fi 5 AC. But because of the TDMA protocol, this is still the way to go. And a lot of your stations are going to be at 256 QAM anyway. So this is still a perfectly good platform for even in 2025. If you're standing up a tower or a sector today, you still can't go wrong with Ubiquiti 5 gigahertz. And you could probably pick up the light beams half off used as somebody else is upgrading from 5 gigahertz to one of the more modern platforms. So I would recommend this over this. And then the Cambium 4600L, this is interesting because of what he says next. I'd like to do a head-to-head type thing in a totally greenfield situation. I already have a Cambium 4600 on the Cambium 4x4 sector and would love to run them alongside each other to see what I find out. I believe he's talking about using a wideband 60-degree horn with a diplexer and the Cambium 4x4 or the 4600L 2x2 radio, and comparing that with this, the Cambium 4600 4x4 with the factory Cambium 4x4 sector panel antenna. And I'm super curious about that too. I'd love to see that. But he doesn't need a 60-degree horn. So the Cambium 4x4 sector is a 65-degree beam width at -3 dB, and it's a 90-degree beam width at -6 dB, which is the same approximately as IsoHorns. So let's take a look at IsoHorns here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is IsoHorns 90-degree WB6A90 is what this is, the WB6A90. And this is the azimuth radiation pattern polar plot. And this is showing 4.9 in red, 6 gigahertz in blue, and 7.2 gigahertz in green. And he's probably just going to run 6 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz, right? So this is going to be the best antenna pattern to match what he plans to do. And how you read this is you get the strongest signal in the center of the beam, and that is normalized. It's put at the 0 degree mark. And then the beam width is measured either at the -3 dB line or the -6 dB line. So classically, sector antennas use -3 dB. So you would measure at where the antenna pattern crosses the -3 dB line, which is about right here. So just under 30 degrees. And then on this side as well, just under 30 degrees. So this is about a 50-degree beam width at -3 dB. So the Cambium is 65 degrees at -3 dB. Ours is 50 degrees. So ours is more focused than Cambium. But at -6 dB, that's just under 45 degrees here, and it's just under 45 degrees here. It looks like it's about an 80-degree beam width at -6 dB. And so this is how you determine the beam width. You look at this is -6. This dashed line is -3. I should have said that at the beginning. But yeah, we've got 0, we've got -3, -6, -12, -18, -24. And these represent the relative signal levels relative to the center of the beam. So if you get a -50 RSSI signal at the center of the beam, then you go off 30 degrees here, and you're going to get 3 dB less than you would at the center of the beam. So that's how you read these beam patterns. And our 90-degree horn is comparable. It's not exact, but it's comparable to the Cambium ePMP sector. All right, coming back here. So he wants to compare the Cambium 4600L with the Cambium 4600 4x4. And I think that would be an awesome comparison. This is a comparison that I've wanted to do for a long time. And my prediction, my prediction is that IsoHorns is going to knock this out of the park. So this is a $1,500 radio on a $400 sector, and this is a $750 radio on a $400 sector. And this antenna is much better than this antenna, and these two radios are about the same. So there's been no indication that the 4x4 radio from Cambium is delivering as promised. So the features that WISP were hoping to get out of this radio were beamforming and multi-user MIMO, which allows the radio to communicate with two subscribers at the same time. So with beamforming, it can send a signal here, and then it can send a signal here. And because these two stations are spatially separated, it should be able to transmit and receive from those two spatially separated subscriber modules at the same time. That's what was promised. And then with beamforming as well, it was supposed to combine the beams with constructive interference to get 3 dB, which is twice as much signal, using constructive interference and beamforming. And when Cambium released the beamforming firmware, WISPs upgraded and they had smoke ping running, and they saw no improvement in latency. They should have seen improvement in latency because modulation rates should have gone up, and modulation rates should have gone up across the board. And so just with the beamforming, they should have seen stronger signals, higher modulation rates, and then the pings should have been quicker because less airtime is being consumed on the radio. And so the radio should have had less congestion, and pings should have gone down. But pings were exactly the same before and after upgrading to the beamforming firmware, which to me indicates it's not working right. And then the same is true for multi-user MIMO. There's no improvement in pings. There's no improvement in speeds using third-party testing tools. And this is a real shame because Cambium had a great opportunity. Rather than promoting this product combination, Cambium should have promoted this combination. They should have promoted our high-performance horn antennas and their 2x2 radios, which are cost-effective. And then this would have been a great head-to-head competitor with what was WISPA's product of the year last year, the Ubiquiti Wave product line, which has limited range and limited capacity, but this also has limited range, but it doesn't go down when it rains. And when Cambium first released the 4600 product line, they also didn't have the TDMA protocol, so it had limited capacity. But now they appear to have worked that out, and so this scales up to what you would expect, 20 stations per access point working well. And if that's the case, then this is better than the Ubiquiti Wave, because the Ubiquiti Wave doesn't have TDMA on its 5 gigahertz backup radio, and it doesn't have good antennas either. And Cambium also doesn't have good antennas. This antenna doesn't disclose its VSWR. So the Cambium 4600L plus IsoHorns high performance antennas, I expect is going to outperform this, and I think it's a better solution than the Ubiquiti Wave because now it has a TDMA protocol and it has good antennas and it's not going to go down in the rain. So Ubiquiti Wave goes down in the rain for lacking TDMA protocol and doesn't function very well in 5 gigahertz for lacking good 5 gigahertz antennas. The antennas were designed for primarily for 60 gigahertz, not for 5 gigahertz. So in summary, we don't have a 60-degree horn, but our 90-degree horn is a good comparison for the Cambium 4x4 sector. And he goes on to say, would you be able to extend a coupon code for me so I could apply the diplexer and horn? Tariffs are whipping my ass with a belt. Maybe in other for other manufacturers, but IsoHorns has eaten the tariffs. So right now, if an American WISP orders an IsoHorns antenna, we haven't raised our prices. Our prices are the same. You can order directly from our online store, and we're eating the tariffs. So we pay the tariffs, not you. And personally hate RF elements. I don't hate RF elements, but I don't like their business practices. And I don't like that their fans harassed me for years, and RF elements never lifted a finger to try to stop that. He's wanting to lean into IsoHorns more. All right, you sold me. I'll send you a coupon. All right, thanks for watching.